Now, moving on, in a big blow to Ukraine's dream of joining the European Union, the 27-member bloc has now rejected Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky's plea of an immediate membership for his country. This came after Zelenskyy on Monday signed a membership application formally requesting that Ukraine join the bloc. Now, Zelenskyy asked for a special procedure on Monday, saying that this will help Ukraine be together with other European nations and will also give Kiev a better footing while dealing with the ongoing Russian aggression. Now, a divide is also clearly visible between the existing bloc members regarding Ukraine's membership. While more than 6 countries, mainly the Baltic nations, supported Ukraine's membership, Germany and France said that it cannot be done immediately. European Union officials have also cited long procedure as the reason for rejecting Ukraine's application. EU membership is a long and complicated process, and negotiations generally take several years before a country gets formal admission to the bloc. Now, the first step to the membership starts only after a country becomes an eligible candidate for the post. Then, lengthy negotiations start, during which it has to prove that it meets the European Union's democratic, economic and political standards. Bloc aspirants, they generally need to go through a lot of reforms and re-reforms before they reach EU standards. And for more on this, WION correspondent Trent Murray is joining us live from Berlin. Thank you so much for joining us. European Union has turned down President Zelensky's request of immediate membership to the bloc, citing long procedure here as the reason. Like I mentioned, Germany and France, in fact, said that it cannot be done immediately. What can you tell us about this decision?
Well, look, I don't think it's surprising, because joining the European Union is a huge feat for any country. And as you say, there's a huge number of checks and balances that any country has to go through before it becomes a member. I mean, it's worth noting that a number of rules under the European Union mean it only takes one member to vote no to often torpedo, for want of a better expression, measures that the EU want to take. So they really don't let people in immediately, countries in, I should say. There are a number of candidates that have been trying to apply for recent years, like North Macedonia, for example, but it's a years-long process. There's a lot of procedure involved, and I think that is why we're probably just seeing a little bit of realpolitik in play here. I mean, I think the EU understands why Zelenskyy has done this, but I think they know that realistically it's just not something they can have on the table right now.
All right. Now, the European Union, United States, other allies, they've used sanctions as their weapon of choice to deter Russia. So far, it hasn't had much of an impact. Now, Germany claims that it can sustain its energy needs without Russian gas. How effectively do you think Germany can fill the gaps here?
Yeah, well, about 40% of Germany's gas and oil comes from Russia, so it's a difficult situation for the country to completely cut itself off from those energy resources. That is why we are having a big conversation here in Germany right now about rapidly trying to roll out more renewable energy to wean the country off Russian gas, if you will. But interestingly, there's also been a discussion about nuclear power, and the reason that's important is because if you go back about 10 years after the Fukushima nuclear disaster in Japan, former Chancellor Angela Merkel decided to shut down all of Germany's nuclear power plants. There was about 17 of them. There's only 3 left, and they were all due to be shut down this year. But given what's happened in Ukraine and given what's happened with Russia, it now looks like we're having a conversation here about possibly trying to extend the life of those nuclear power plants just to give some more energy into the grid and not have to rely so much on Russian gas. It's certainly not a done deal yet, but what we understand is there are very active conversations happening right now to just keep those 3 nuclear power plants online to help the country get through any future energy crisis because of what's happening with Russia.
Right, absolutely. Also, what do you think we can expect further? What form of support can we further expect from the EU for Ukraine, apart from sanctions?
Yeah, well, I mean, we're seeing this whole kind of continent-wide coalition forming to try and help Ukraine. I mean, some of the stories that we're hearing from different European capitals are really quite extraordinary in terms of the U-turn that we're almost seeing in foreign policy. I mean, neutral countries like Switzerland and Sweden, adopting these sanctions is quite extraordinary. We know that the ICC, the International Criminal Court in The Hague, is already looking at launching an investigation into possible war crimes by Russia. Of course, EU airspace remains closed to Russian airlines. Also, we've heard in the past 24 hours, the EU is handing over its satellite imagery to Ukraine, based out of the satellite centre in Madrid in Spain, to help the Ukrainians try and get a better eye on where the Russians are coming from and their location. Sanctions, of course, continue to bite, and we've also then heard in the last kind of a real couple of hours that Ukrainian pilots have arrived in Poland to take some donations of jets, believe it or not, about 70 jets, we understand. These are MiG-29s and Su-25s. Those are Soviet-era fighter jets that Ukrainian pilots know how to fly. And so some of those Eastern Bloc countries that have also got those types of aircraft in their fleet are looking at handing them over to the Ukrainians just to try and help keep up air defences.
All right. Trent, thank you so much for joining us with all the updates on the situation. WION is now available in your country. Download the app now. Get all the news on the move.